Splatoon 2 introduced a ton of new weapons, and almost all of them got their time to shine with how well balanced that game is. But what if we put them back in time, to one of the most harshest and strict metas we've ever had in Splatoon 1? Would those weapons still be good, or tossed to the wayside, and which ones would really thrive? I'll be going over how good they would be, comparing them with my own Splatoon 1 tier list, and I'll be giving kits to some of the best ones to see just how good they could be. Let's get started. Fast breakdown of Splatoon 1 meta. This is the tier list that I made for it. Weapons are really good if they can be more aggressive and don't have a lot of gear dependency because they need to run quick respawn because it works every single time you die. Also, stealth jump hides your marker completely and is broken too, and invincibility as a Kraken and Bubbler are also really broken. With a really strict meta, matchups against the top tiers, especially the trio to fuck you, really matter, so make sure you're really good against those matchups or you're gonna have a problem being good. Okay, let's get started. Clash Blaster. So Luna Blaster has the same blast radius, kills faster, and has a direct. Yeah, no thank you. Dapple Dooley. While it would be able to fight a lot and could run a lot of quick respawn similar to Clash, it also has harsh competition. Luna Blaster has the same radius as Clash in this game, and Carbon Roller has an over line of range horizontal flick with a burst bomb and Inkzuka. It's just way harsher competition for the short range weapons in this game. Undercover Umbrella is the worst out of anything we're gonna rank here, let's be honest. While it could run quick respawn, it would really struggle to fight anything, and typically its fights are long because you have to burn through its shield, and it only does really weak damage, which just does not work in this game. Also, one of the top tiers has a wall and a bubbler, another one of them has a bomb to break your shield and can hit around it, and the other one also has a bomb that can break your shield and can hit around it. Not fun. YouTuber straight out classed. Yes, it can run damage up for partial charges, but that's no longer a unique thing to it, and it's nowhere near fast enough. Also, running damage up is already a downside if it's needed, because then you can't run as much QR. And Glugadoolies. There are already a lot of good wall weapons with 96 Deco and Cherry H3, and 96 already struggles to compete with Wall Kraken and being fairly good in that game. Gluga just isn't gonna do it. The dodge rolls are somewhat useful, but not good enough to make it a situational niche here. We got our first half decent weapon here. Now, this one requires a really good kit, but the base Splatter Shot in this game doesn't really have anything with an invincibility special, so if this were to have a Bubbler or Kraken, I could see it being useful in some situations. And yeah, Squelcher's this low. Its kill time is fairly short, damage up isn't something it could run reliably because it would require a lot of it, you'd want a bit of QR, its ink efficiency could actually be a problem, and a lot of the top tiers are more midliney in range and have better matchups against Squelcher. However, due to its insane mobility, I could still see some situations in which you play around it. I guess Flingza is something you could run. It does face harsh competition from Dynamo and Carbon both being good in this game, but it could fit that weird hybrid style given the right kit. That being said, its horizontal flick isn't even as good as Carbon's in this game, so yeah, it's still fairly weak main weapon-wise and very dependent on a good kit. Yeah, Blob would be a map-dependent niche that could potentially output a high amount of specials. I'm not quite sure how good it would be. It's so hard to say with this weapon, but I could see it having some situational usefulness with some of the weirder Splatoon 1 maps, honestly. Brella. So if this was 90 damage Brella, it would be way up over here, but since it's 81, it just requires way too much damage up in order to be good. Without that, it's way too weak and easy to stall out, as well as two of the top tiers having an easy time dealing with it because of AoE, and another one of them having a wall. So if Tent mains hate fighting K-Gal in this game, imagine what fighting Cherry is like when it can not only protect itself a second time with its special, but also its whole team. That being said, it's still a map mode niche weapon with a shield that is threatening in the right situations, even if it's not as useful as it would be in Splatoon 2. So yeah, most weapons would barely be used if at all and be situational niche at best, but there are a few of them that would thrive, and these are the ones I really want to talk about, complete with their own kits. Alright, so first up, the Ballpoint. Obviously, it's going to get a nice advantage that it can run damage up again, since it would stack way better, allowing for 33.3. And on top of that, it's a fairly versatile weapon with a good kill time and long distance pressure. However, I would only put it in good niche. The reason is because it needs both run speed and damage up, which is a lot of gear dependency and could be a lot more tricky compared to the QR it would like to run. I would give it Beacon to keep its kind of aggressive niche going, and Kraken so it could be really aggressive with its short range mode. I think this weapon would be seen on two niches. One, Hammerhead Bridge for the most obvious reason, and two, good beacon maps where the long range mode could still thrive. Should be nice. For a tier up in good, we got the Nautilus. I decided to give it Disruptor so it could have cool poking power similar to Zimmy, and Kraken Kraken so it could be more aggressive. This weapon's really good at its slaying capability, could more easily run 99.9 with slight amount of damage up, and would work really well in this game. I do think even with the damage up, Squeezer would be slightly better, and I'll talk about that more later, but even with that, both of these weapons will actually have a bit more problems in this game than the latter. Though again, I'll save that for Squeezer. Another tier up is really strong, and before I get to Squeezer, let's talk about X-Splosher. This weapon would benefit from two major things in this game. One, having an actual kit. In this case, I would go with Burst Bomb and Echolocator. The wall hacks would be really useful for it, and burst combos are self-explanatory. And two, damage up, not only helping the Burst Bomb, but allowing the direct hit to do 99.9, which makes running out an X-Splosher really risky. This weapon's even no stranger to running quick respawn, which would be really useful for it. This would be a really nice backline option that could be more aggressive. There's only two real reasons I couldn't put it in top tier, which is one, I couldn't give it an invincibility special that worked with it perfectly, and two, it is still a little bit slow, as a lot of comps opt to have no backline altogether in this game. That being said, it's still insanely good, obviously. Squeezer's in the same tier. I gave it Disruptor Kraken, the same kit I did Nautilus. I think this would work even better, since the Disruptor could be more useful with how ink hungry the main weapon is. I feel like most of you guys are just curious why it's here instead of the actual top of the game, and while it's insanely strong, don't get me wrong, its long-range 3-shot is incredibly useful, especially with the perfect jump accuracy, and it still could do decent with paint and run QR. It would actually struggle a lot more aggressively, which is something it needs to do well. Range Blaster has the ability to jump and a bomb to poke, H3 has a wall to keep itself alive, Slosher has Burst Bomb, Zimmy can spam Disruptor, Luna Blaster can play around its AoE, and Bento Charger can play around partial charges. It'd still bully the crap out of Splattershot, even more than it does in this game. But yeah, for the most part, the matchups are much more mid-liney and just overall stronger and harder to fight, which would mean Squeezer has a more tricky job than it does in Splatoon 2, where it bullies most of the top tiers of shooters in that game. So it would still end up as really good, but not the top tier. That title only goes to one weapon. Yup, it's Tetradulis. Not only is this weapon that could possibly see the biggest jump in improvements from Splatoon 2 to 3, it also sees the biggest jump from Splatoon 2 to 1. The kit is pretty self-explanatory. Burst Bomb would be awesome for dives or for poking at a distance, and would work really well at comboing with the main weapon's damage. And Kraken would be even better with this thing than any other Splatoon 1 weapon. Because you roll in to get that damage off, you would actually be much closer when you pop your Kraken than most weapons, meaning you have less distance to cover and can more easily confirm your kills. On top of that, when the special's over, while you do still have to wait for the end lag, afterward you can immediately use your 4 rolls to help mitigate that and make yourself more mobile if people don't immediately kill you from it. Do I even need to talk about the main weapon, something that plays for kills, runs a bunch of quick respawn stealth even in Splatoon 2, and overall likes to fight all the time? Tetra could also run a hybrid damage QR build in order to deal with specific comps, so I do think mostly QR would be better a lot of the time. It would be pretty good at fighting most of the higher tier weapons. As for the big 3, it would be good at fighting Range Blaster due to its ability to close the gap. It could do solid against Slosher, though it'd still have to be very careful for the burst combos. But it would have one problem matchup, being Cherry H3, as shredding that wall would be really difficult, and it has a bubble to protect itself and its team from dives. But even then, I don't think that's enough to keep it out of top tier. So yeah, Tetra's the big winner. A few weapons get to thrive, but the majority of them are situational niche or even worse. That's just one of the downsides of a really strict meta. While Splatoon 1's still really fun, it doesn't really get the most variety, and a lot of these new weapons wouldn't really get to shine as much as they did in Splatoon 2. But it's cool to see that some of these would have thrived, and I'm kind of interested to see how they really would have played out if they were actually in the game. But I guess that's something we'll never know for sure. But I hope you enjoyed this thought experiment. Be sure to subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys next time.